Okay, so here we are in Visual Studio. And again, don't freak out if you don't know Visual Studio C#. All of these concepts apply to whatever bindings of WebDriver you want to be using, or whatever bindings of any kind of automation tool you want to be using. These are concepts and ideas for automated software testing, not tool specific, so don't freak out. Let me quickly give you a little bit of a breakdown of what I did here, of the layout, so you can better follow, and then we'll actually dig into the nitty-gritty of the code. So what I tried to do was I named my classes in order of steps, logical steps that we're going to divide our automation into. So if I look here in the Solution Explorer, you can see that I divided into basically 5 steps, and I'm going to go through each one by one. I wouldn't normally name my classes like this, but I did so just so that they're perfectly organized, so that you have an easy time of following along with me if you're looking at the actual code. I'm utilizing NUnit here, so just creating standard NUnit test classes. Okay, and then we created our original test, and then I copied over our original test that we just recorded 2 other times, just so that we can pretend like we have a test suite. Not that they're relevant much, but just to have them there for exemplary purposes. So that's really about it. That's the organization. Once we exported out our recording, what it produced was a file that looked literally like this. I took all this code right here, and then I copied it into this method, and I called it original recording. So in here, you guys can actually see our test. Take a look at it and ingest it. Looks pretty straightforward, right? Just like a normal recording would look. One thing that you may notice here is I actually put my username and password into environmental variables of my machine, because I don't want to give you guys that username and password, because I don't want to be everybody to be using my test user for my application. So those are here for me. If you're utilizing this code, you're going to need to supply your own test user, and you can do that by simply just signing up as I showed you before. So besides that, the other thing that you might initially notice is that we have our assertion here, but this assertion actually kind of sucks, because it's not really an assertion, it's more of a if condition, and then if that if condition fails, then we're writing out to the console. And that is annoying, because if I was to run this overnight or in any kind of way, I wouldn't really have a history of my results. Rather, I would just have a console output, but then that console is going to disappear, and after that, my test is done. So the very first thing that we have to do with this test is actually to clean it up a little bit, and I just replaced this with a single assertion that does the same thing, but now this assertion is either going to cause my unit test to pass or to fail. I'm going to have a history, and I'm going to have errors that I can look at after I'm done with running my test. And you can see up here that I actually put a 1, because I had to take 1 step on this automated test in order to be able to fix it immediately after the recording. Basically, I couldn't really even use this automated test in its original form after the recording. I had to take 1 initial step to fix it. And I'm not going to count the username and the password, putting that into environmental variables, because technically, if you're recording this test, you don't really have to replace that data. So I'm not counting that step. I'm only counting replacing the assertion. So now that we replaced our assertion, we actually have our test. And I'm calling that test test 1. And we're going to follow test 1 through the entire process as it evolves through the automation testing logic to become better and better.